It's 9 o'clock. It's a Saturday morning. Yes! Regardless of where I am, it is time for the Monster Magic Saturday Show. Let's do this.
Wake up, it's a beautiful morning. Feel the sun shining for your eyes.
Woo-hoo! Good morning, everybody. Boy, am I ever feeling overdressed. Well, dressed, I suppose, is how I'm feeling. There is a power cut on Colin, my lovely boat. So I have come to Monster HQ in order to film today's show. And unfortunately, in the dark and everything else, I forgot to bring my dressing gown. So I'm really sorry. You have to see me fully dressed for once. I hope that doesn't put you off your croissants too much. It is also going to be a little bit of a short show, probably, because I've got so much to do, and fixing the boat and everything else has taken up so much of my time. But come on, it doesn't matter, does it? We can still have some fun. And first up, Oil and Water, Both Sides by Philippe Molina. This is obviously a take on Oil and Water. Oil and Water has been around for a very, very long time. I'm not even going to attempt to record the first reference of it. And it was a fact, I'll be honest, when I first got into card magic and everything else, and people were talking about Oil and Water, and there was always a version of Oil and Water in everyone's book. I wasn't the least bit interested in it as an effect. And then I saw the great René Levant do his I Can't Do It Any Slower. And suddenly I realized just how powerful the idea of cards mixing can be. So if you're not familiar with the effect, let me explain this one. You show that you have 4 blue cards and 4 yellow cards, and they represent oil and water. You then mix them up one by one so they are intertwined. You then wave your hands over, make a magical gesture, and spread and show that they are now separated. You can repeat this a couple of times. You can then finally show that you've got 2 separate packets. You can slam one packet on top of the other, quickly spread, and show that they have now mixed. And with this one at the final as a closer, you can show that they have now all turned green. It is a brilliant multi-phase version of Oil and Water. And like I say, that idea of cards displacing themselves is much more powerful and more entertaining and more mystifying to a layperson, and certainly to me when I saw it done for the first time than I thought when I read it and when someone described the effect to me. It is really, really a great trick. With these cards, because they're solid backed, it's really visual how they mix. Let me just show you exactly what you get in here. Well, I can't show you. Well, I can show you, I suppose. So you get, these are the cards. You get more than 8. I will tell you that for nothing. But here are the 4 blues. As you can see, they're nicely printed. They're sort of reminiscent a little bit of the good old Knox back in the day. And these are the yellows. And you also get some green ones as well, which are the same as these, but a different colour. Now, what I like about this trick is something that might put many of you off. It is not self-working. There are a couple of gaff cards involved, but they don't sort of do all of the work for you. You still need to have some basic card skills. That does have some advantages that I'll come to at the end, and the skills aren't really difficult. Certainly the tutorial, which is by Philippe himself, is broken down into the first part of the routine, which is just the basic oil and water separation. And that is a really nice routine on its own. You can end up completely reset. So if you're doing it table hopping, or you're going to do it multiple times throughout the night, it ends up back as at the start. And I'm going to emphasize it's not difficult. It requires things. If you can do things like the Ascanio spread, if you can do an Elmsley count, if you're familiar with holding a pinky break, then you should be absolutely fine. And Philippe gives you some really nice tips. Obviously, when performing this, he's been performing it for a number of years, that's clear. He knows what can go wrong, and he's got workarounds for it. He's got ideas for if you're a little bit nervous about this or whatever, he's got alternatives, which is really, really good. The idea of being able to turn them into green at the end does require a little bit more skill. You might want to be sitting down. It might use lapping, which is how Philippe presents it in the trailer. He does teach a much easier way of doing it if you haven't got a lap, but that uses a wallet, as it were. He actually uses a JOL packet trick wallet. Lovely to see someone using a bit of JOL from Prop Dog. And so that is possible if you really want to, and that makes it completely slightless. The same with handing the cards out. If you watch the trailer, he hands the cards out. You can do that at the start of the routine, but again, it does require a little bit of sleight of hand in order to show them. He teaches how he does it, and then he teaches an easier way of doing it. The second phase, where he takes the two packets and he slams one color on top of each other and then immediately spreads them to show they are mixed, is a little more involved. It's still not difficult. I would say it's not even really breaching intermediate sleights, but it will take practice. And at the very end of the tutorial, Philippe runs through his worker routine, where he sort of explains exactly how he gets into it, how he carries it, how he puts it away, so that it all resets nicely and very quickly. Really nice he's included that, certainly if you are a worker. The only real downside to this is that regardless of which phase you finish on, you cannot have the cards examined at the end. They need to go popped back into your wallet. I think this is super clever. You get a lot of mileage really out of a very simple gimmick that hides in plain sight throughout. It is, you know, very, very visual. It's not as hard as many other oil and waters out there, and yet I think it has some of the most powerful phases of oil and water I've ever seen. The tutorial is 45 minutes long, and Philippe, like I say, teaches it really, really well. He doesn't treat you with kids' gloves. He's not patronizing in any way, but he runs through everything. And really, I think this routine is well worth putting in the effort to learn. If you are completely new to card magic, or a little bit nervous about pushing what you've been able to do before, then just start with the first phase. That is really, really good on its own and not too difficult. You can then add the second phase. You can then maybe add the idea of having them handed out at the start, and finally you can end with them all turning green when your confidence has been built up. That is Oil and Water, Both Sides by Philippe Molina, just $24.99. Next up, we have Fragrance by Alex, or Fragrance, I imagine I should say. This is quite, well, I thought it was going to be similar to Aroma, which was brought out by Illusionist a few months ago and dealt with the idea of scents changing places. This is a little bit like, the best way I can describe it is double cross, but with perfume. So what happens is you show that you have a bottle of perfume and you spray a few drops onto someone's palm. They then smell it and confirm that their palm does indeed smell of the scent. You then have someone with their fist closed. You take the scent from one person's palm, you throw it onto the other person's hand. When they open their fist, they can now smell the scent, and the person who you sprayed earlier can no longer smell their hand. It is, I mean, I really, really like it. I'm surprised how much I do like it. It is much more convenient to use than I imagine. I'm going to try and figure out exactly how much of this I can show you, which isn't very much. You get a little a parfum spray, a little dispenser there to spray onto people's hands, and you get the gimmick. Show you the gimmick looks very much like a Sharpie pen. There you go. That's pretty much about all I can really show you, I'm afraid. The tutorial is by the Magic Dream team and Alex himself. And Calix, first they show a live performance of it. I think it's a Blackpool Magic convention. That certainly looks like it's at Blackpool. And then they do a studio performance as well. And then Calix breaks down exactly how it's done. And within that breakdown, he runs through some really, really nice subtleties and some verbal psychological subtleties as well, which really adds it, really makes it far more convincing. And that basic routine of having the scent move from one person's hand to the other, I think is absolutely fabulous, absolutely knockout, very easy to carry around, and absolutely brilliant. As I said when I did aroma, there aren't very many sort of smell tricks. We always deal with the visual, and having something that's invisible but tangible, change places is just mystifying, and it won't be something the audience has seen before. It won't be something that they're expecting. It's also got the convenience of double cross in the fact that you haven't actually left any permanent marker on the palm of their hands. So in that way, they're just left sniffing, going, I can't believe it, and they can have other people smell the hand, and the other person can not smell it. You can actually have two people smell the first person's hands when you sprayed it as well, if you like. Calix runs through all of that. It isn't a very simple routine to do, and really, really powerful. I think that's really, really great. They do run through some extra routines at the end, and sort of bonus routines and some bonus ideas, including things by James Brown, who did a little pot of jam, so it's called a little pot of scent, I think. And Michael Murray's offered a routine as well, and they talk about how to add it into your PK touch routines. Calix started this as a stage routine, so even if you're a stage performer, lots of tips on how this can play that big. And it's, pack small, plays large. And of course, Calix has been performing this himself for a while, so he also runs through possible issues you might have and how to get out of them. The actual props that you get in here are really well made. They will last, and they are perfect for the job. The downside is you don't get everything you need to do it right from the box. And for me, that was a little bit of a kick in the ghoulies, because I'm sure, like you, I was itching to try it. I just immediately wanted to have a go. And I was a bit thwarted by the fact that I've now got to pop down to the high street in order to do that. So that is the one downside. But what I will say is that I am going to nip to the high street. And so if you buy fragrance from me in a few days' time, it will come with the little added thing that you need. If you've already bought it and I haven't included that, then let me know and I will send you what you need. If you haven't managed to get it already, then I will refund you. I personally love the scent transference routine, but it is certainly very, very versatile. You can combine it with lots of other effects as well. They combine it with their trick letters, which is interesting. But for me, it is just a nice, easy to carry alternative to double cross. That is Fragrance by Calix. $54.99. And now, having spoken about double cross so much, it is the turn of mini double cross. This is a mini little double cross. If you don't know the double cross routine, if you haven't got double cross, I'm not sure where you have been. It is quite simply probably the best-selling magic trick of recent years, and it still sells consistently. The idea is that you have someone hold out a fist closed, you draw a cross on the palm of your hand, you then take that cross off your hand, you throw it towards their fist, they open their fist, and the cross is now on their palm. Having just talked about how great the transference of scents is, the transference of permanent ink is also amazing. It's obviously got its origins in the old ashes routine, but it's brought up to modern day, and permanent ink, even just removing it from your palm, is pretty impressive. The whole throwing it, it all just feels too amazing for people, and they freak out when they've got that cross on the palm of their hand. It is always gets great reactions. It is most workers' go-to, and it is perfect for the hobbyist as well. It's so easy to carry around because it is literally just a Sharpie pen. This makes it even more convenient. Here we go. This is, look at this. It's a little dinky mini double cross. It's got a little hook on it there as well, so it just hangs on your keychain, and you are good to go with your double cross at any time. Like I say, double cross is brilliant. This makes it just a little bit more convenient, I guess, and perhaps it isn't even so much the convenience of it in the fact that if it is on your keychain, you are always going to be carrying it, so it's not like you've got to think before moving, leaving the house. You've got to take it with you. Everything else about it is the same as the real double cross, the tutorial, and so on. The routine itself is perfectly choreographed for this to work. It is a very, very easy trick to do, despite its immense power. I would suggest that you practice it on a mate, a fellow magician, if you've got someone in the club, or a trusted friend, just so it builds your confidence if you haven't done it before, and you can make all of the mistakes and really get it down. There is a slight knack to it, but other than that, it is very easy to do. I don't actually know how much it is yet because it only came in this morning, and I haven't calculated the price, but that is Mini Double Cross by Magic Smith. And finally, we have Jiggernaut by Mark Genist. Mark Genist used to be around a lot. Certainly when I started in Magic, he had some great working material. This is one of them. It was my favourite at the time. I've since misplaced my original. So when I ordered in some stuff from Magic Smith, this was top of my list. It is a real golden oldie. The idea is that you've got a jigger for measuring spirits and an olive, and as a sobriety test you ask whether or not the olive is in the jigger or in your pocket. Of course, you keep putting it in your pocket, but it keeps returning under the jigger repeatable amount of times. Finally, you show that there isn't an olive underneath, but a cork. And not only that, there is also a second cork. It is a corker of a routine, if you ask me. It is, of course, a chop cup routine, but without the choppedness, as it were. So if you learn this and you've got the jigger, you can almost do it impromptu at a party, provided there are some olives and some corks. And if you're at a party where there aren't any corks or olives, then I'm not sure it counts as a party. Boris Johnson might have a thing to say about that. Let me show you exactly what you get. You get the two corks. So you get the jigger. The style of jigger is important. If you watch the routine carefully, if you watch the trailer, you'll realize that. And you get these fake olives, which are the pimento stuffed variety, just to add a little bit of color. They do look really realistic. And they work perfectly. It is a very simple routine. It makes a lot of sense in many ways. The sobriety test is a great idea to introduce it. So it's perfect for parties or if you're down the pub. And yeah, it's got all of the joys of a chop cup. It's easier to carry around, of course, and the final loads are not as big as most chop cup final loads, but because of the size of the jigger, it kind of transpires that it is as amazing as if they were much bigger final loads. And of course, the corks bring it to a nice close and kind of make sense with the idea of drinks. I think it's really nice to get away from the traditional chop cup presentation as well. None of that is it on the top. No, it's the bottom really joke. And if you are at a party, you can have a little fun ribbing your friends about them having double vision and so on. It is easy to do. There's nothing really I'd call a move, and each phase sort of follows on from the next, so it's just a nice rhythm, and it's not really as if you have to learn it that much. When I will say, when learning it, there isn't an online tutorial. It is simply written instructions, but you know, you can watch the trailer, so it's got the full routine on it, so that will help exactly what you've got to do, and it will make a lot of sense once you've read the PDF. I still think it's one of the best cup and ball routines out there. It is logical, especially if you're going to a party. It makes so much sense, and every prop can be justified. I really like it. It's a lot of fun. It's really easy to do. It is very entertaining, and especially if you're with friends who you can take the mick with. That is Jiggernaut by Mark Genist. And that is almost the end of the show, but I've realised I've had to open this Jiggernaut. I was going to keep it for myself, but suddenly a wave of generosity has come over me, so it is now up for grabs. What I'd like you to do is to make up a name of a cocktail, hopefully with some magic based in it, whether it's a card trick, whether it's got Alex Elmsley, or I don't know, Dingle's Delight, whatever your cocktail will be. Just write down a cocktail name in the comments, and I will pick out a winner next week.
I think I ought to see a doctor. Oh, why do you say that? I'm beginning to like the show.
And that is the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you don't already, otherwise you might miss next week's, and that would be a shame. I am off to fix some electricity in the dark and in the wet. What can go wrong there? But please, guys, come on. In the meantime, grab some magic, get out there and have some fun with the best hobby in the world. Bye-bye.